You're listening to the Cantina Cast, your home for thought-provoking Star Wars talk. Join Albert and Jonesy in breaking down the latest news, trailers, movies, and of course, your favorite characters from a galaxy far, far away.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Cantina Cast. My name is Albert Padilla, and this is episode 431, our review or breakdown of the latest Cassian Andor trailer. This is our full-length trailer. This is got some additional footage in here that we hadn't gotten with teaser trailer or any of the stuff that we'd covered just several weeks ago. And there's quite a bit to talk about, so we're both excited to finally do so. And I say both because joining me tonight is a very special guest. His name is Jonesy. Jonesy, welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, thank you. It's such an honor to share the screen and the stage with you.
Wow. Well, thank you. Likewise, my friend. Likewise. How are things going?
Going pretty well, man. This trailer was, in a word, just in a word, we'll smash all together, just badass. So super excited to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, there was generated quite a lot of buzz. It feels and looks different than I think a lot of the other stuff that we've gotten here recently on Disney Plus, and we'll get into that here in a little bit for sure. But before we do, let's not mess around here. Do we got any news, anything that you want to share?
No news that was really worthwhile, but we do have a little bit of Patreon news. Amber, who's known as Keisha in Discord, decided to level up her membership as well today. So thank you so much, Amber, for trusting us with your hard-earned dollars. She went from the After Dark up to the Green Milk tier.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Yeah, so that was really cool of her. And then, of course, a special thanks over to the now part of the tribe folks, Mike, Kathy, Rob, Lauren, and Cole. I don't know why he's not in the notes right now, but Cole is on there as well. And then Delusions of Grandeur members, of course, the Rod tier, as we've started to now call it. So if you're interested in Patreon, check us out over at cantinacast.com/Patreon. We do have a new show coming up that we will do the top 3 moments from Rogue One. Although the timing of it now seems a little bit weird because we were going to do it right before the release of Andor. And now Andor is a whole month plus a little bit later, but it works. It'll still work. Yeah. But anyway, so the folks at those tiers have an option for us to reach out and see who's interested. And of course, Rod has the option of joining when he would like to every month. So if you're interested in that and joining the stage with us and having conversations about your top moments really across anything, because we're going to do this regularly, go check that out. And then beyond Patreon, a special shout out to Kate, who just started listening to the show. And she told me that today. So I just wanted to say, thank you, Kate, for tuning in and giving us a listen. We appreciate it. Yeah.
And thanks for all of the folks that chimed in on the last episode. There were some things that we either forgot, didn't get right, and, because there's a lot of Star Wars out there.
I don't believe
we do our best. But no, there were some really generous people who came out and posted comments on our YouTube channels and commented, hey, this was this and that and all that. So that's really good stuff. I really appreciate all that. And my life has just been absolutely turned upside down here the last couple of weeks. So I really haven't had a chance to get out there and just comment. So just say thank you to everybody who's providing feedback and joining in on the shows, either live stream like tonight or coming back and watching those shows once they hit YouTube and the feeds and all. So we do appreciate that.
Oh, you say we have a live stream hour?
We do have a live stream. In fact, we're doing a live stream right now, Jonesy. Yeah, so if you guys, we've got a Patreon show coming up. I think we still stick with that. I mean, I'd like to still do it. I'll probably wear the same shirt, just spoiler alert, because it's the only Rogue One shirt I got. But I thought we would still kind of stick to the schedule on that. We can probably mix in some stuff between now and then. But let's talk about that. I guess with maybe no lack of news per se, but I think we got kind of thrown a curveball here with the release of Andor now going from, what was it, August 21st?
The 31st to the 21st of September, yeah.
So 3 weeks later, but to make up, they're giving us an extra show now. So we've got 3 episodes premiering on September 21st. How do you feel about that? And what are your thoughts? Have you done any research into what's going on? Does it bother you at all?
Bother me? No. Disappointing? Yeah, of course. I mean, because we were expecting, because now we have 7 weeks until we have Andor. And when we thought we had just a little under 4, or right around 4. But I understand it, though, because if we look at what's going on in the market with big releases, let's think about this. On the 17th, we have She-Hulk. So that's in-house competition right there. But then also on the 21st of August, we have House of the Dragon on HBO. And then on Amazon Prime on September 2nd, we have Rings of Power, the Lord of the Rings series starting. So when you think about it, giving those shows a little time to breathe, especially your own in-house show, makes a lot of sense. And let Andor kind of have its own moment to shine a few weeks later and get that initial buzz, that initial interest that maybe sneaks a few people away. Stealing viewers and stealing listeners, I don't know if that's really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Because if it's your thing, you're gonna watch it. But those folks who are on the fence about whether they're interested in this or that, I can understand where they want to have that space and be able to give the shows that flexibility.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on that?
Well, I would agree with all of that. I think this is kind of the allure and the big benefit of having your own channel, like Disney Plus, and being able to just, on the fly make these types of changes. It's not like the days of old where they had to set a date and advertisers were lined up and all that. And
Right.
once it's set, it's set. It's like, unless there's some kind of, huge, crisis or natural disaster act of something, then it stays. So that all bodes well for them. I think it gives them, again, that flexibility to kind of do what you said, which is not have to share the limelight with a bunch of other really cool, popular shows that are up and coming. For the most part, though, I think it's probably, there was at the end of, what was it? At the end of Kenobi, did you get that? There was a survey that went out to Disney Plus subscribers, and it was like, hey, wanted your thoughts on how it was having Kenobi and was it Miss Marvel, or I can't remember which two shows were running.
Yeah, Ms. Marvel was right there with it. I did not get that.
So I got it. It was very short, but it just said, hey, it was you could tell they were trying to gauge the interest of like where Star Wars fans were with Marvel. I'm sure people that were, had lots of hours logged with Marvel probably got something the same way. But I wonder if some of that played into this as well, that feedback and collecting all that, thinking, because we've talked about it. A lot of those audiences are pretty much the same. Like I'm staying up at 3 a.m. to watch the premieres of Star Wars at the same time that Miss Marvel was coming out too. But then I had to make a choice. Like I'm not going to stay up till 4 to watch it. It didn't make sense, right? So I had to pick one, and what good are you doing if I'm your same target audience? So
yep,
I don't
makes
know. Maybe
sense.
maybe there's some truth in some of that as well, or something.
But again, I don't understand why they didn't stick with this Wednesday Friday thing.
Yeah,
I mean, Wednesday was the new Friday. I get that, but why not have Friday be the continuous Friday? And I know in the traditional television sense, Fridays was the death slot. Like if you were like, that was where you put shows to die.
yeah.
Because no one would tune in on Fridays. But this isn't the same anymore.
Yeah.
Like with streaming, it's become more of a family event, or, just something that you can do on the weekends instead of going to the movies of sorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been part of the rub with these services, is that it takes away that business that you might otherwise have going out and doing something and spending money at the theater or something like that. So it's a little confusing to me why we are so hell-bent on lining everything up on Wednesday. And I'm sure they have tons of numbers and statistics.
Data, yeah.
Yeah, that tell us exactly all the things that don't make sense to me anecdotally. Right. And for them, it's like, nope, this is definitely the thing. But I liked Fridays because not everybody has work on Friday. Sometimes you're willing to stay up a little later Thursday night, so you could have a rougher day on Friday, or you can watch that going into the weekend on Friday, and then you've got all the time in the world. But again, maybe you're not getting that coffee pot buzz though either, that water cooler talk, like we used to call it back in the olden days. And so which makes sense to me too, right? Yeah. Water cooler talk on Wednesday for the folks that saw it, and then you get those other people to go watch it on Thursday and Friday. Mm-hmm. Keep those numbers up. So anyway, regardless,
I really prefer Star Wars Fridays.
I thought it was kind of cool. I like having two things during the week because, I mean, that just gets me into that routine of watching Disney Plus more than once a week.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I guess this is not a fair question, but there's a part of me too that's starting to wonder if there was anything about the story itself. I mean, the delay of 21 days or to the 21st doesn't back this up. Like, I think that's strictly strategic and because of all the things you said with shows. Yeah. But then if you think about it, like they didn't have to say, or maybe they did, but it didn't seem like they had to say, okay, we're still going to do, we're now going to do 3 shows, right? For whatever reason, they felt, okay, maybe that's the silver lining is you get 3 instead of 2. But I just wonder, from a storytelling perspective, did it make sense for them to say, okay, we're going to bundle these first three together because this feels more movie like, right? This is a big an hour and a half movie now, if you think about it in those terms, rather than a TV show. Because of all the signs and everything they've been talking about, and we see it clearly in this trailer. I'm sorry, it is clearly in this trailer. This was made differently. It feels cinematic. It looks cinematic. It has all the things. I mean, this could have that trailer that we saw could have been a movie, right? I mean, they probably would have added some more things in there to make it a little bit more exciting, but for the most part, it looks and feels like a movie. So maybe they're going with that as well. I guess we'll see though. We won't know until that third episode comes out if it feels disjointed by having to wait for episode 4. Does it feel like those first 3 episodes are kind of a nice little intro, season or series movie that they used to do? If you remember that a long time ago.
Right. Yeah, we used to think of these in like story arcs, because that's what Clone Wars was given to us as, these serial TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
But even with 12 episodes, I don't know if we can rely on that to be the case anymore. It seems like they keep saying, no, that's not how we're structuring these shows. They're really, like you said, a cinematic, continuous story across X number of episodes. Yeah. And we've seen this with the other Disney Plus content. Hawkeye comes to mind in particular. And so it's something that I hope doesn't feel disjointed. But again, it's supposed to be kind of a weekly serial. So I'm hoping it just doesn't feel like you fell off a cliff, though, because of 3 episodes, even though it's a quarter of the season. Hopefully it just works. So I'm with you. I think it's a bit of a concern. I don't think this has anything to do with the production of the show, anything like that. I'm 100% there with you. I think it's done. I think they're happy with it. I think this is purely strategic, like you said.
Yeah, they've had a lot of time to work on this sucker. So
yeah, we did have a question down here in the chat, which is good because this is relevant. What comes after Andor, if they didn't release all at once, with the show bumping into, there's actually a lot of questions about this right now. Where is Bad Batch? Right, we expected Bad Batch in 2022, but they're running out of time with 2022.
Yeah, runway is getting real short now.
Yeah, sun's getting real low. I mean, so it's something that they've got to do, because if you slam right into Bad Batch after Andor, then do you let all of Bad Batch run before you get into Mandalorian? I don't think they're going to want to sit on Mandalorian any more than they already have, because they've already kind of bumped it, in my opinion. They've already kind of pushed it a little bit into next year.
Yeah.
So I really don't know Bad Batch is supposed to be next, but
yeah, I mean, it was, and they could pull a Book of Boba Fett and say, oh, it's going to come out in 2022 and
right,
release it 12/31. Huh? We still got it out.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah, who knows? But I mean, yeah, right. Bad Batch was supposed to be the next thing, and then, of course, Mandalorian season 3.
I don't necessarily want overlapping Star Wars content.
No,
because that makes it really difficult for us.
Selfishly, that's not the way to go, Disney. Okay,
right.
Trust us on that one.
Yeah.
Okay,
call my people if you have any feedback
yeah.
on that, Disney.
It's spelled Rondeau. Rondo. Please call him.
Yeah, that's a complaint. That's the complaint department.
Yeah. Or if you want somebody to complain to you, he can do both. He goes both ways with that guy.
He's exceptionally.
He's very good at complaining. Okay, so let's let's pull up the trailer here and let's dig into this, and while I'm doing this, so I've already kind of talked a little bit about it. The screen's kind of black right now, but this trailer, yes, the teaser was cool, and we definitely got a sense that things were differently. There's that cliche of this feels like it's built differently. Right. It's just built differently. But there's something as cool and as visually enticing or entertaining as the studios that or what do you call it, the View,
the Volume,
the Volume. My goodness, the View is a totally different show. The Volume, as cool as that is, this makes it look like this almost exposes it. And I hate to say that because I'm not throwing shade. I loved all the series so far. I'm going to continue to watch them. I think what they've got is great, and we've said it many times before. That's only going to get better, right? There will come a day when we get to the point where they're doing all this stuff in-house, and it's going to be really hard to distinguish between what's live set and not. Okay, I'm not saying anything there. But just right now, when this thing came out and you see the depth of these scenes and how big they are, how grand they are, how, again, cinematic they are, It's night and day difference for me.
I'm not
You?
convinced that the volume's not in use at all. And they haven't said that specifically. And I know the Empire article came out today, and
Yeah,
and Tony Gilroy was saying that they've steered. What was his actual quote?
I
Do you
thought he
actually
said
have it?
I think he used the word old school.
Yes, but he never said we did not use the volume.
Right, he did not say
Right.
that. Yeah.
But people have jumped straight to that, and I just don't believe that, because when you look at the indoor stuff, because what's the alternative? If you don't use the volume, you go back to using matte paintings and screenings over that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if they're digital, I mean, that's what you do. I watched Light and Magic this weekend, all 6 episodes.
Oh my goodness!
So I am all up in this stuff.
You are certified, sir. You could go work at ILM right now.
I am.
know you could. Yep.
I have 45 years of knowledge in my head now after 6 hours of watching TV.
So please continue, Dr. Jones.
Right. So I think for some of those scenes, it still makes sense to use the volume. It's still like the scenes with Mon Mothma, with Coruscant in the background and things like that, where you just need that dynamic area. You're not going to build Coruscant. I mean, you're just not. And I think with some of and there's a picture of Andor when he's walking through the shipyard. I'm sorry, that kind of looks like the volume to me a little bit.
Do you think they would? Well, they could go back to. I mean, going back to matte paintings, probably not. They probably wouldn't go there, right? But they would. They could go back to what they did with just digital backgrounds, right? Green screens and blue screens and CGI type stuff.
Very much, yeah, very much so.
Cool. Yeah.
But in general, though, the depth and the scale that you get with all of those shots from Ireland and all the ones that they're doing with the Star Destroyer, and being outdoors, and some of these environments that are clearly real in sets, right?
Mm-hmm.
It really it does have a different feel to it. And again, I think it's all depth and scale, and those are the things that we continue to see the limitations of the volume. As good as it is, and as many amazing things as it can do, it's not perfect in that regard yet.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that you're not going to be able to replicate with that Andor is going to, I'm going to use the word exploit a little bit, but for this, it makes so much sense for this story to be rooted in reality and have that very tangible thing, because this is a story about, I mean, that's what the core of the story is, right? It's about having this really gritty, real feel to it. And I don't think it would work otherwise.
Yeah, and not to beat a dead horse, maybe the last thing on this is, if you're a company like Disney and you've got the volume and you've got all this money tied up into it and you've got multiple studios of this going up here soon, that is an asset that you would want to take advantage of. It's there. Why not use it? So I think you're right. I think it probably makes sense in some scenes. It may make sense for them to have gone back to CGI, or maybe they may have done some matte type stuff. Who knows? But
I like this blend of it. I think that's a great.
Yeah, no, that's great.
To use both is what you should be doing, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it takes, right, to tell the story that you want to tell in the best way that you can, you use it. So, so Qui-Gon J chimes in, says, "This looks so cinematic. I absolutely love it." And we've kind of started rolling here. This first shot is similar to the shot that we got from the teaser. It definitely looks like Ireland, but we're gonna pretend it's not. I think what was clear to me on this one now, though, is I wasn't exactly sure who it was when we talked about this one the last time, but now you can see here. I want to go frame by frame here. This definitely looks like that is Cassian Andor. And does he look like he's been made, or is he supposed to be smaller, like younger?
He looks like Hobbit height.
That's what I mean. Like, looks like a Hobbit. And this may be intentional that they've done this, right, in some way to kind of show, okay, this is him when he's 13, 14 years old, maybe a little younger.
Right.
Or it's just the, the scale or whatever, the depth here that's throwing this off. Maybe she's 7 feet tall. We don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the question is what is the timing of this, right? And we know that we're going to, whether it's flashbacks or we see Andor growing up, whichever way that turns out, and we're going to see Andor at different stages of his life. So this would make sense that we would see him at when he's younger, when he's not looking like we know him today.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm all right with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And this here, you can't. I don't know if you were able to tell.
few
Well,
TIE fighters coming over the horizon there.
yeah, there are. There's a couple there, and that's what startles them. He whips his head back around, turns around, looks, and you can just see those TIE fighters coming in through the mountains there. Really cool shot, and unless you're paying attention, you don't really catch that, to be honest. So definitely the Empire is making its way in here, and yeah, we are going to get. We have flashbacks of some sort. We can clearly see that on some of these shots here in just a second. Yeah, you know what? He is smaller. I mean, unless no, all joking aside, unless she's like 7 feet tall, or he's standing in a hole, like he fell into a hole,
Right.
like just their proportions, like he's not a full size adult. It's just bizarre. But yeah, you can see them coming there. I don't mean to go every shot, every panel,
Every frame.
Yeah, it's just this quick time on Windows stuff. Again, this guy and his weapon getting all kinds of controversy again about AK-47s. I really don't give a crap.
Yeah. Again, similar scene to what we saw in the. Yeah, so this is the same shot that we had in the teaser as well.
Yeah.
So nothing new on this one here, but yeah.
Yeah, nothing new. Just the same controversy.
Right.
Although I saw somebody. I'm not a gun person, but I saw someone who posted the exact model that was used for this prop. And with the exception of like two minor things, it looks exactly like that gun in every possible way. I think it's an AK-47U something. I don't even know what the numbers or letters mean there at the end. But again, I just don't care. They've got a ballistic weapon and it looks like an AK-47. I don't give a crap. Let's just go. What's the storyline, right? So
Right.
That's my 2 cents on that. Okay, so this was new. This lady here, and I got a question for you. So she kind of looks up, of course, we're going to get which I thought was awesome, this massive shadow of that Star Destroyer just kind of creeping slowly over everybody is what she's looking at here. But I was trying to figure out what this was. It looks like it almost looked like there's handlebars, so maybe like a speeder bike or some sort, or a weapon of some type.
I could not figure it out because at first I thought it was like one of those old, cars where you pump to both sides, but there doesn't appear to be another side to it. Yeah, like a rail car.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's tough to tell. But yeah, it does look like handlebars. It does look like there's maybe some engines on the back. So it might be a sort of personal size scooter.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the seat pops up there and it's more of like a bike.
Yeah. Well, and there's also this tarp that you can kind of see here as well. And we know from the teaser trailer, remember they were covering everything up, right? And if you kind of, and not to kind of blend these two scenes together, but in the teaser when they're all running to cover everything up, we question like what is it they could be running from? Well, maybe it's a continuation of this scene, right, where the Star Destroyer is flying overhead. There's TIE fighters. We'll talk about them in a second. It's being escorted by a number of TIE fighters as well. So if these are weapons or they're not supposed to have whatever this is, then it would make sense that tarp's there. Either she's covering it up or she's just uncovered it in some way. Oh, there you go. It's
a Vespa.
A Vespa. Good job, Steph.
Well, and again, if the Empire believes this is more of an indigenous people and they're having some resistance and pockets of resistance and maybe some subterfuge going on, they would definitely want to hide anything that appears to have any kind of technological advancement to it. And so great shot of letting it roll there. It definitely does look like a speeder or a bike or something like that in some regard.
Mm-hmm. You can't make it out on the video that we're watching here, but if you look here at the very front, there's 3 TIE fighters. And then if you keep watching on this, the very far left-hand side right here in the back, it's got a little 3 TIE fighters that are flanking the back side of it as well.
Yeah, got a bit of an escort.
Yeah.
That was cool. I mean, seeing the shadow come across her face and the Star Destroyer, very Rogue One Jeddah inspired, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it calls up all those images of Jeddah with the Star Destroyer just parked over it.
There's and I love the fact that you can see the tip, you can see the cone or the tip of the Star Destroyer, but it starts to disappear into the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the one thing that was interesting about this too is I don't remember. Well, that's maybe not true. Like Star Destroyers have everything they need, right? They don't necessarily need to be escorted. But I'm wondering if there are people that are, if maybe there's somebody really infamous or, has a lot of prestige or valuable. I don't know who that would be. I wouldn't say it's Vader or somebody, but it could be other folks on there that are super important. Because why would they get an escort,
Maybe, but we also know that they're not as effective in atmosphere And so maybe there's something there too.
Yeah.
Since it's coming in and it's docking, maybe it's more vulnerable in that state. I don't know.
Or this is a volatile, hostile environment, right? They
Yeah.
have gotten resistance, no pun intended, in the past, and they know they need to come in hot. Otherwise, these little small ships or anti-aircraft type stuff could take them out or take shots at them. I don't think it's going to take them out, of course.
Right.
Okay, we get the Lucasfilm logo, get the Star Wars logo. Here's a really interesting shot. So this is what I'm assuming Cassian Andor, because he's got that stick. He's got the same shoes on that we see a little bit later.
Yeah.
He's kind of
Same.
looking over the horizon there, and it almost looks like he's looking literally at his homeworld being decimated or ripped of its natural resources. And these are, again, this is me theorizing based on what we talked about during the teaser trailer, and what we thought the show could possibly be about. But it feels like it's starting to, it feels like it's kind of leaning in that direction, that the Empire's come in, similar to the Ahsoka novel, and they're kind of taking whatever they need. And we know that, for at least from the Ahsoka novel, it was all to build the Death Stars, which at this point are probably, well, no, at this young age here, they could be looking for all of those natural resources that they need in order to build a super weapon. But your thoughts, I guess, on the scene and any ideas on what's going on here?
Yeah. I mean, a couple of thoughts. One, if anybody's been to a quarry, this is kind of what a quarry looks like. Everything is in layers. It's very chiseled, and there's a rhyme and reason to how they blast and things like that. But this being a young Andor, I don't know if this is actually Empire though. It may be early Empire, but remember, we also know there's a CIS, new in Old Republic link, not Old Republic, CIS and Republic kind of link. So is this dating back to the Clone War era or to the Republic era before the Empire? And we see a little bit of this transition maybe, because we know we have clone troopers coming up. But is that in that same timeline to where this isn't necessarily Empire, or maybe it's beginning of the Empire, something to that effect? Because we've seen, ideas like this we saw in Bad Batch when they go to visit Hera's homeworld.
Right.
And so when they're the Empire basically took that over. But so I don't know if it's Empire specifically, but yeah, it seems pretty clear though, stripping resources, draining planets for what they're worth, very inspired from Ahsoka. And it just makes a lot of sense. And again, we know that Cassian's world is basically, destroyed when he was young. And things like this can make these environments completely unlivable, depending on what they've released and what they've used to blow, to blow these chunks of rock up, or the stone or these minerals, whatever it might be.
No, so again, not that I'm not saying that they're using matte paintings, but now that I stare at this screen, like the background here, right? I mean, they did something. It's not a set. I mean, they didn't
Sure.
create this quarry, so maybe they did do something there along those lines. Just looking at that, they got a camera here posted, mounted to the.
That's just for the wildlife.
That's what I've seen those. You see them here in Texas quite a bit because they film the wildlife and stuff. Okay, so and this is when we get our first voiceover, and it's Cassian Andor saying, "To steal from the Empire, you just walk in like you belong." And that was interesting for him to say, because the first thing that came to mind was, well, any number of times that rebels, either in Resistance or Star Wars Rebels or the Clone Wars or whatever, the Empire is so big and it is so huge that many times we take cheap shots at how insecure their security is and how lackadaisical they are about security and things like that. But at the same time, we saw this in like Kenobi with the trench coat, right?
There was a
just
huge
so
trench
many
coat
people.
too. So
Yes, it was a very big trench coat. But there's so many people, so many things coming and going. It's so massive that you probably could just walk in, and as long as you are acting like you're assertive and like you belong there, kind of like what was her name? I already forgot her name. Is it Talia? When
Tala.
she went in there, I forget now.
Yeah,
But
Tala.
Tala, yeah. When Tala goes in there, right? She was very assertive, and she took a chance there. But again, they're just so big that it makes sense that you really just have to just kind of walk in with a purpose.
Right. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, when you have that contentment of, I am in the safest place in the entire galaxy because it's run by the Empire. We're the Empire. We're big and bad. I mean, why would you think anybody? It's an impenetrable fortress. Why would you think anybody could be there?
Let's see. Going to the chat real quick. Gary Smith said they did the same thing to the planet where Vader and Obi-Wan met for the first time since Mustafar. Will knows what we're talking about. He said trail cam. That's probably it. Vlad is with us. Says after the disaster that was Kenobi, I needed to see something that looks like it was produced by complete competent people. Well, it's again different breed of show here, but yes, it does look pretty dang gorgeous. Rob says, I'm going out on a limb here. I wonder if we will see Ransom Castero's family from the novel Bloodlines. It would be a nice nod and perfect timing. That's a deep cut. I don't.
That is a deep cut.
That'd be cool if they did do that. Yeah, I would be happy with that. And Riss finally showed up, yeah, as usual. So, hey, Riss, no, just kidding, Cole. We talked about you earlier, so you have to rewind. Okay, so let's get into this next part here because we get to see a young Cassian Andor who is, let's see, right there. He's now walking into. I mean, this looks like an Imperial facility. I'm going
Definitely.
off of some sort just because it's geometrically shaped and all that.
Octagonal, yeah.
Octagonal, right? It's I don't know. But
Not seeing any handrails or safety items.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Until we see the bridges and handrails, the lack of handrails, then we can't verify that this is an Imperial facility of some sort. But he looks like he's sneaking in. He's got this stick with him. I don't know if it's a walking stick or if it's a weapon of sorts. That's an inside joke. But any thoughts as to what he's doing? Because I want to come back. Let's see here. Let me see. Let me just fast forward. Let me play here.
yeah. We know that he's going into a facility, and what he's talking about in the voiceover is that when you go into these places, you just walk in like you belong. They don't expect anybody to, when you act like you're one of them and become one of them, you can do whatever you want when you get in there, and before they know it, it's too late.
Yeah.
And so we definitely see him doing that as a bit of an adult. But as a kid, he's also doing something, and it appears when he goes into this chamber that the screens are all glitchy, and so it's unclear if he's done something. We don't ever see him with a parental figure, except maybe in that earlier shot. So I'm wondering if something with his parents is maybe involved with all of these types of screens here, this storyline of when he was a child or what.
Well, going back to the teaser, right? There's that one ship that's coming in. It's on flames, on fire. I'm wondering if this is that ship because it may not be Imperial. It could have been shot down by the Empire, and that's what brought him to the planet, right? But later on, I was hoping it was the scene. It's the next couple ones a little bit further in, but he walks up, and you can, like you said, the screens are glitching. Well, if it crashed, that would explain why the screens are glitching. But then you also see somebody laying on the ground who looks like either they're a prisoner and they're asleep, or they didn't have their seatbelt on and that thing went down and they're probably passed out there. It looks like a commoner, though. It doesn't look like an Imperial person of any sort.
Right.
So unless it's a prison, right, there's some other thoughts around that too. So I think that I'm tying those two scenes together with the ship going down and then him going to explore it. And from there, I'm not even sure where that goes. So, but okay. So let's go back to the video here. I want to get into his shoes too later. Here's the Imperial Senate, which I had never noticed this. Is this new?
I think this is the first time we've had this. I think this is the first time we've had this angle of the Imperial Senate with the actual logo embedded down there.
That's a pretty sweet touch there. I mean, Palp's got some pretty nice. He's got a good.
He's got a great aesthetic, man. Yeah, design, man.
Design, sure.
That's what he was going to do if his Sith thing didn't work out.
Yeah, he's going to go into
interior design,
architecture. But yeah, no, I thought this was really neat. Now, I had this Senate doesn't look as colorful or as diverse as we've seen, like in the prequels. But then, so I'm trying to, like, I want your thoughts. Do you guys, everybody here too? The more I looked at this, I was like, oh well, there's nobody here. But then it does look like there's people here, but they just look very uniform. And maybe it's because I'm so high up. The shot is so high up, I can't really see the diversity in these folks. But it doesn't look. It still to me looks pretty uniform, unless they're wearing, like, they've taken everybody's personality away or whatever, and now as part of the Imperial Senate, you wear like a red robe or something, or a maroon robe of some sort that goes over your existing clothes. What do you think? And
yeah, I mean, is there a dress code now, basically, right?
Well, I think that's
right. I think so. I think we're seeing a trend as this trailer goes on, though, is that the color palette when it comes to Coruscant is very dull, very neutral, very gray for the most part, and just lacking in any kind of color and diversity, like you had said, but really just any kind of, just any kind of visual interest.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just driving that out, which of course makes a lot of sense. But we're going to see that throughout the trailer. So I think it's very intentional and very gray. And again, it's just very utilitarian.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It is, a lot of it is part of the aesthetic here. Where's ET? That's all we all want to know. That's all we're looking for. We want them. We want the Wookiees. Everybody showing up again. Okay, so move on again. Now this is the shot of Anton Lesser from the teaser, and I think in that first episode where we broke down the teaser, we said that he was probably the rank of an admiral based on the Rogue One insignias from the Visual Dictionary.
Right.
Which I have behind me if anybody wants proof.
Well, the other thing though is that when we see with what's her name, Deidre, it's Denise Scott's, yeah, her character. I'm kind of wondering if this is more ISB.
It could be.
I think they look much more like an Imperial Security Bureau folks, and maybe
that would be great.
Part of the military. Yeah, and that's why we see the Death Troopers and then those two.
Mm-hmm. We get the "so fat and satisfied" line, the shameless plug for Yeti. I saw somebody post that. Oh, come on! Did you pull yours up? Let me take a drink of my Yeti right at the same time.
Wow, your show.
There we go. By the way, Yeti is now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
but yeah, Yeti tumblers. That's cool, man. Good on the Empire. Again, they got good taste, and I say that as somebody from Austin, so because that's where they're from. Okay. Anyways, let's. We talked about that scene. I do like the fact that they are that smug. Okay, here comes the shoe breakdown that everybody was hoping we'd get. So, I know you're looking at me like, what in the heck are you going to talk about here?
I like that they're stuffed for socks.
Well, so here, yeah. So these shoes are obviously way too big for him, right?
Right.
He's got them stuffed. He's got the rope wrapped around his ankles because his ankles are too skinny, so he's wearing these things. And then they look like Doc Martens. Look at the bottom.
Right.
You see that?
Still got a lot of good tread on them. I can see why he wanted them.
Yeah. Well, I've bought a lot of Doc Martens in my life, and this looks like compare. I just was wondering, like, why they focus in on the shot, and you can see, like, they obviously went through a lot of detail here to put this in there. Do you think there's any chance that we'll see these shoes later as an adult? Like, he's still wearing them, like he's grown into those shoes, and we'll get the same kind of shot, but now it's him a little bit older.
No.
Okay, we're gonna move on, and now. If you see
are you asking if there's any significance to the shoe? Like, pulled him off his dead dad's body?
Right. Oh, man. No, I don't think it's that dark and grim of a story. I was trying to go back to there. Okay, so in all seriousness, no, you can see that person. So it almost looks like this person has something covering them, too, like they've been sleeping here, you know?
Right.
I don't know. Any thoughts on who this is?
No, I really don't.
Part of that same shot, though.
Yeah, and again, it's more of a, like you were speculating earlier, is it the crash ship or is it something else? And I do think it's probably the ship that's damaged, but again, is it supposed to be something where they've got people captured and he's curious, or did they bring it down and he's just the first one to show up?
Yeah, I'm thinking the latter. So I think I'll get used to this Windows keyboard. Okay, so let's keep playing here. And this looks, again, the inside of a ship. Now, this ship does not look to me to be Imperial in some way.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, the lighting, the 3 lights there in the back, but usually those are in sets, right? They usually have like 2 or 3 at a time that are vertically like that. I mean, it could be. I'm not going to say I know every ship.
But it's very gray and black.
It is very gray and black. I'll give you that. Definitely give you that. Who knows?
But and this is where you can see the screen glitching out.
Yeah.
So clearly something's damaged. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll agree on that there. Okay. And then the next shot is, he says, they can't imagine that someone like me would ever get inside their house. And it cuts over to him standing here. He's standing in line. He's wearing this Imperial garb of sorts. But I guess the question for you and anybody listening, watching, is, do we think this is him? Has he enlisted officially, like through the proper channels, or do you think this is more of him being just undercover in some way?
I think it's probably more undercover. Now, undercover for the rebellion or something like that, no. And he looks very young in this, so he's probably in his early 20s, right? Something like that, late teens, probably a little older in his teenage years, but early 20s. And so I think that he's probably sneaking into the facility and doing something rather than enlisted, join the enemy type of thing. But again, there's some lack of clarity there about what was the transition away from being a CIS supporter to the dislike for the Empire. How long did that take?
Yeah.
Was it relatively quick, or did it take many years before he did it, or what? And so I think that's one of the main questions here. But clearly dressed as an Imperial soldier in some ways.
Yeah, and I think I could go both ways, honestly. I'd be cool
I
with
think they
either
both
way.
work.
Yeah, I mean, because we know from the quotes and people, I think it was Diego Luna that was talking about how we're going to see a casting Andor in a very different place at the very beginning. I took that to the extreme, saying, okay, maybe he did join the Empire in the teaser breakdown. Maybe he did join, and uh, through the process of that, either like Tala discovered that, hey, these people are terrible, they're awful people, and I'm going to stay in as long as I can to get as much intel as I can, so I can make a difference once I get out. Or he's gone undercover here, and for the same reasons, right, to kind of learn more about who they are and what they are. This could be a mission, but to your point, I don't believe at this point, anyways, that he's working for anyone but himself. Maybe it's a personal mission that he's got, a personal vendetta of sorts. I don't think he's tied up with the partisans or the fledgling rebel alliance or whatever sects they're going to have, and which it's going to be interesting. I hope they have kind of like Mando, where they've got different sects of groups still coming together. We've seen more of these now, so
Right.
just quick aside there. But yeah, either way, I guess is what I'm saying. I'd be cool with either explanation as to why he's wearing this uniform here. I know he's not wearing it out of good graces for the Empire.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on from the creators of Rogue One. His name.
Stellan Skarsgård.
Yeah, it was Luthen, I think was his name.
Luthen, right? Yep.
Yeah. And he says, Cassian Andor, the Empire is choking us slowly. I had to pull up the subtitles facts. I couldn't understand what this dude was saying. The Empire is choking us so slowly, we're starting not to notice. And they're in this room with all these chains, which looks kind of cool and weird at the same time. And later on, it looks like it's they've got chains on these pulleys or whatever, and they're lifting up really heavy pieces of equipment of some sort. So who knows where they're at? I guess it's probably not important. But this is I guess Luthen's character. Are you on board with saying that he is a critical member of the Rebel, would become the Rebel Alliance, and he's out recruiting people? Cassian Andor presumably gets his attention, or he finds out about him, hears about him, knows about him, and goes to try to recruit him as part of his efforts. And same thing like with he goes out to Saul Guerrero a little bit later. Is he just kind of building a team here?
Yeah, I think a bit. I mean, and granted, he's that connected tissue because we see him with Mon Mothma later on as well.
Yeah, right.
And so we might see this more. We have Mon Mothma who understands that you have to get your hands dirty sometimes, but it's still more the political side of that resistance. But Luthen might be more of maybe the Saw Gerrera side of things and has a difference of opinion, but that's how it all ties back into Coruscant and the political arena and how he's playing both sides of the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like the idea that maybe he's the more realist, if you will, quote unquote, of saying, well, yeah, Mon Mothma, we know this. We know what we want to do, but that doesn't work. And we've been doing this for too long. We're not making any progress. And we hear Andor say that later on. And he's saying it. I mean, it's very true here. This is what the Empire does, right? They just slowly strangle you because they're not just going to scare you into submission yet. They don't have the Death Star, but they just squeeze the life out of you until you subjugate. And then you're under their power, and trying to get away from that is really difficult.
Yeah. William had chimed in and said he's the new Garm Bell Iblis, and
William is going to die on that hill for Garm Bell Iblis.
yeah. Well, and he's not wrong. I mean, there's there's certainly like similarities here. I mean, he's not named that, of course. He's named Luthen, but that character, from what I remember, was a senator. He was kind of an enabler. He was helping Mon Mothma. He's almost kind of fitting that role in a lot of ways.
Yeah, a bit.
And there may be other senators too, right? I mean, to Rex's point, there were a lot of good people out there that were trying to turn this thing around, right? Let me just look at Bail Organa. So
right, but Luthen definitely has this more militaristic connections, or he's making those connections where maybe Mon Mothma doesn't have that yet.
Yeah,
and so this is the beginnings of that. So yeah, he's out there recruiting people that pop up on the radar.
Mm-hmm.
So the real question is really, where it really gets interesting, is whether that Saw and Cassian Andor know each other or not, or if this is going to be a first time where they meet up as well.
Yeah, I would think they would know each other. Maybe as like
They will soon enough,
yeah.
very least.
Maybe working together, right? But yeah, I don't. I can't see why they wouldn't know each other. Because Saw Gerrera is such a pivotal person in all of this, and right, love him or hate him, he's doing some good work out there that they don't necessarily want to do, right? I mean, it's kind of like turning a deaf eye or deaf ear and blind eye to him half the time because of what he's doing.
Right. And it kind of depends on where Saw is at too in the galaxy. Where is he physically located? Because it doesn't seem like Andor has the means to get off world.
Yeah. So this is the same shot, or I believe it's the same shot, or at least confirmation that we've got clone troopers in this. I'm going to assume this is again one of the flashback scenes earlier on, but who knows? Like I said, it takes time. They didn't just kick everybody out, and boot them out of their costumes, and said, "Okay, everybody wear this one now." So I don't know. Any thoughts?
So
on
let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What if they're not flashbacks and we actually get more of a progressive story
Oh yeah, no, I'm with you.
of him growing up rather than doing the flashback thing?
Yes, I would actually prefer they do that than the flashbacks, because the flashbacks we've had so much here lately
Yeah.
in Star Wars, and when during after, or I guess after a period of literally years and years when we had no flashbacks, and now we were just getting all kinds of flashbacks. I would rather they just tell the story progressively, and we get for episodes 1 and 2, or probably about, or maybe the first 3 are about his childhood, and maybe it ends with him meeting Luthen at that point, and him being recruited because of the efforts and all that. I'd be totally down with that. In fact, that would be my preferred option.
Right. And I know people though are going to be excited to get, we need Diego Luna right away. So I understand that. I understand that. Well, I understand that draw, right? He's the main, he's the central character. So he's the one that we're kind of showing up to watch. But I'm with you. I kind of want more of a progressive story. I mean, flashbacks and lookbacks have a place, right? And they do them well. But I'm kind of wanting to see a bit of that coming of age a little bit and spend a little bit of time. You got 12 episodes.
Yes.
So it's kind of, do you have that do you have that opportunity to do it since you've got a little space?
And that's the key difference between a flashback and telling the story in this manner is, like, with flashbacks, you're spending 30 seconds, a minute most, right? And you get that little slice of time. But with this, you can linger. Right? We can stay in that time for a full 40 minutes or whatever it is, and really get a sense of what's going on and understand it in a lot better degree and depth of character motivations and context of what's happening, all that. There's a lot to be said with giving us that rather than during just a quick flashback. So
yeah, and I don't want to call it an issue, but one of the observations with the flashbacks that we've seen so far is that they seem to want to parallel what's going on in current time when they go back.
Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't been 100% the case, but we saw that with Obi-Wan in particular.
Yeah.
But we've seen a little bit of it elsewhere, or it's more of a trauma type of induced type of thing, like what we saw with Din Djarin when that was actually happening. So yeah, I just kind of want to just tell the story the other way. But I get you can build suspension that way too, or build suspense rather, doing it that way and not telling the whole story right away and drawing that out over several episodes. So
yep,
I understand the appeal both ways.
This is so we've got Denise Go, or Gao, I think it's Go. We talked about her. She's the Imperial officer that you see here on the screen. She's got an escort of death troopers.
Is it Deidre Miro?
Oh, I thought that was Denise Go.
No, that's her character name.
Oh, yes. Though. Yeah. Deidre something. They finally gave us that in the subtitles, which Deidre Miro is her name.
Miro, yeah.
Yeah. So we probably should call her that. But yeah, Deidre Miro, flanked by death troopers. In the background, you can see one of those mud troopers. He's running there with his riot shield and his little baton.
You mean those mud skulls?
Yeah. Mud skulls. Get out of here. This guy, like, Star Wars. And then there's a tank back there that we saw from Andor as well. So, I mean, nothing surprising. We've seen her in this kind of, the Imperials are always pissed off and they look like they've got somewhere to go half the time. So,
yeah, she's got a trench coat, which is why I kind of lean more towards ISB. And I get it's dreary out there, but ISB always struck me more detective type society. It actually reminds me of like John Wick with the people that come and investigate John Wick, like in the, I think Parabellum or something like that. Kind of reminded me of that.
I'm trying to think the ISB costumes, like what their uniforms look like. Not costume, but it's the uniform.
Well, and have we seen them in live action before to where it matters what they look like or what our perception of what they look like should be?
No, I just want. Yeah, it was probably. More
Yeah, I don't know that we have specifically.
Okay, so this is a new scene. This lady here is putting up her arm, putting her arms up, hands up, kind of thing. There's that. I don't know what we called them. We called them like the militia or the local police, right? Because I think you and I were both convinced that these were not, maybe working for the Empire, but not natively imperial in some way. But the thing that stood out to me is the insignia on her jacket there, or shirt, whatever that is.
Right.
It's almost like they tagged her or something. It's almost like a scarlet letter, right? Or like with the Jews and how they marked them so that people would all know who they were, that sort of thing.
Right.
They could be going down this path. I don't know what that insignia would be, but it is interesting that it's so prominent and it stands out. It doesn't blend in, right, with the rest of her outfit there. So,
Right.
thoughts on whether this is Cassian Andor's love interest? I think this. I can't. Some of these shots, it's hard to tell. Like it feels like there is a love interest now. I saw it at the very end, and then I went back and watched it. And I was like getting confused between her and what
And the
potentially could be a
sister?
sister. Yeah, exactly. But what are your thoughts?
Well, it's Star Wars. I guess they can be both. But that was a bad joke.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, I kind of think that because the scene you're talking about later, they're close and they kind of look each other and there's a tension there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that definitely seems more love interest rather than brother sister. And so I'm starting to think it's probably not sister because again, in his younger shots, we don't see him with anyone in most of those. That seems like a sibling. So I'm guessing this might be someone that's more of a growing up friend, or maybe someone that they've reconnected as, kind of like a Kira and Han of sorts. But,
okay.
But yeah, definitely local security, catching her. I think this ties in directly to what we see Mira interrogating her later on and asking, did I catch a fish or did I catch a thief?
Right.
Caught in her net. So this definitely seems to be the lead into that. So she's done something, and so maybe she stole something. And again, maybe this is a branding, like you said, of what the badge is, or maybe it's more of a job. But regardless, yeah, she's in a heap of trouble.
Yeah, I'd be really embarrassed if she's just like working at Denny's and she just got off her shift, right? And
It's like a backwards D.
Yep. So, okay. Well, let's move on here to this shot. So this is interesting because, I first saw it. I didn't really notice the scaffolding on the side there, right? So it looks like they're building something, but at the same time, this looks like it was ripped apart.
I think they're tearing things apart. Yeah, I think it's the other way around. I think they're tearing things apart.
Dismantling these things.
Yeah.
So potentially, it could be an old Star Destroyer.
Well, and if you remember back to one of the early ones, you had the Venator class starship on its edge, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the shipyard that they were dismantling. And I'm wondering if this is all just another extension of that shipyard.
Yeah.
Or the dismantling yard, that wreckage.
Yeah. I'm with you there. Okay. This is where we have Andor coming in. He's walking with purpose. A lot of these people look like the same people that we saw in the teaser. This all kind of seems like it's part of that village or city or whatever that's right next to the plateau that looked like they had that scrapyard or wherever they built ships at one point.
I'm kind of thinking this might be his home, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. It's possible.
But I mean, look how filthy and smoggy and dirty and just how horrible the environment looks like.
Yeah, it's like downtown Los Angeles. Oh, kidding.
Wow.
Kidding. I love it.
Ron Dale's going to have some words for you.
He's a Texan guy now. Oh, no, wait, no.
Oh, he's back in LA.
He's back in LA. Sorry, dude. Sorry about that. Okay. Let's see. So this is where, what's his name? Luthen says, what I'm asking is this: would you rather give it all to something real? So enticing Andor to say, look, you're doing a lot of good stuff here. He's probably sticking it to the Empire every second he can, but he needs to think bigger and all that. I mean, that's probably how he's coming after him, right?
Yeah, it's that call to action of sorts too, right? Of you can be so much more than what you are. Well, what you're doing, you're not going to make a difference. Or what you're spinning your wheels doing whatever it is he's doing.
Yeah. Or he could do more. Like he's capable of really putting these guys on their heels and this guy's got the power, he's got the knowledge, right? He's got the contacts, and
Potentially the resources, yeah.
yeah. So these little petty things that he's probably doing, where he's taking cheap shots at the Empire and all that. He probably has a lot of knowledge, given that he's been on the inside, that they could put to use and do bigger and better things that the Empire is not going to like. There's Luthen coming down. More steam from the.
It's a cool ship.
Yeah, it is a cool ship. Like there's I forget the name of this ship. There is a ship that's very similar out there, and I remember it was in the West End. I think I was in the.
It kind of reminds me of the one from Old Republic.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Now there was one that was in one of the video games, and it was inspired by like the Millennium Falcon was the inspiration for it. And when you were playing that game, like it was like you were playing the Millennium Falcon. It's kind of like when the Shadows of the Empire, when that video game came out, and you had ships that were very similar but not exactly. You had characters that were very similar but not exactly. That's kind of like what this ship was, and it looks almost exactly like it. I'm sure it is. I just can't think of the stinking name right now, but it's pretty cool. We get to see this a little bit later too, when he fires up his the cannons and starts shooting the TIE fighters. But yeah, nice ship. Doing his Vader impression again with coming off.
Yeah, nice cloak. It's Darth Maul.
Yeah, it could be. That's a heavy. Like I don't know why he yanks that hood over so hard. Like it's
very dramatic.
It's very dramatic. He is not happy with the weather. Not what the weather app was telling him. This is a quick shot here of what looks to be just like a speeder bike going over.
Yeah, different different
farmland?
plots of farmland. Yeah.
Who knows?
If you've ever flown over the Midwest, you know exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, but he's got no regard for the farmland. He's just like ripping right over it. So,
right,
jerk, go around, dude. Two tubes. I love this shot, man. Like this is really cool looking. Like this doesn't feel CGI. It doesn't feel volume. It feels like it's real. I don't know where this is at, but I love the fact that we get two tubes back first, number one, and then we got this black X-wing. Look at the paint scheme on that too.
That is cool looking. That is really
cool looking.
And I agree with you. The cave look back there and being in for the partisans to be hiding out here makes so much sense and feels just like Rogue One, right?
Yeah, or Yavin in some way. There's another.
It's definitely cool to see a little bit of an earlier model X-wing.
Mm-hmm. This is closer to that Z95 Headhunter look. I'm sure
a little bit of it still got the S foils, yeah.
Yes. So it's probably still in that same T60 series or 55s or whatever the hell the number came out before it. But there's another one here. Did you see that? I just noticed that right now.
Yeah, just the tip. You can see the little spire, whatever the little gun things are on the side. I forget what they're called.
So cool. Yeah, I'm excited about that. That we'll get to see it here. Let's see. He says, "I need all the heroes I can get," is what Luthen says at this point. So it does sound like he is going about recruiting folks, trying to bring them in. And then we get Saul Guerrero's voice, which I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a big shock. I think people, I'm sorry, Vlad said the Ebon Hawk. Yeah, sort of like that on that ship earlier. But yeah, we had thought that Saul Guerrero would be a natural person to be part of this series a long time ago. I mean, it just makes sense. So he's definitely going to be a part of it. He says for the greater good, and I love that line because if you think about it from Saul Guerrero's perspective, everything he does is for the greater good.
Right.
And to the extreme, right? He is an extremist and is a zealot in a lot of ways. And I just hope we get to see, I want to see that decline. And I don't know if we're going to get him, all 16 episodes or whatever it is. But if there are little bits and pieces that they give us to kind of tell the story as to why he got to where he's at, he already looks kind of crazy, to be honest. Like he looks like he's already off his rocker just a little bit here. What he doesn't have is the breathing apparatus that I saw anyways. So maybe there's an origin story for him there where we get to see why he has to suck on oxygen half the time. But nonetheless, this looks like a bunch of people that pull up their weapons and point them at Luthen. So
yeah, probably uninvited guest there.
Exactly, yeah.
But again, to go back to Saw, though, we know when his sister died, that governor was basically removed. And that check valve is no longer in place for Saw Gerrera.
Right.
And so that streak of just doing whatever he wants, and every once in a while, someone will kind of pull him back from that edge. But even when we saw him in Bad Batch, a little unclear where he's at in that time frame, and now we're a little bit further on from that. And so, yeah, I'm pretty sure that we're probably seeing Saw maybe at his peak of this very guerrilla style of offensive, and really just kind of doing whatever he wants again for the greater good. He's been saying something along those lines for a long time, right?
Yeah.
Now, for a while, it was very self-centered and into his individual area, his planet, whatever it might be, and family and group of friends. But now he has a cause, right? So all the righteous need is a cause, and then you're lost to it forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you become a fanatical. And this is where Luthen replies back, "Call it what you will," and Saul says, "Let's call it war."
Yeah, which
Which is
always
what he wants.
seems like what he wants, right?
Yeah, that's all he wants. But good on him, man. I'm glad we got him back. That's gonna be so cool.
It is, and I'm glad that he's kind of in this in between stage too of where we saw him. He's not all the way super healthy and young, right? But
Yep.
a little worse for wear, but nothing like what we saw him. I want to see if he's still missing. Is he missing the leg yet?
Yeah, true.
Here we go, more mud skulls.
Yep. With riot shields.
Yeah,
Sure
I think these are more just like cadets. Because they're all, look at those fresh young faces.
Yep. Strapping young boys here. Oh, who's this guy here? Like he's like ramming his shoulder into this group. I mean, he may be nobody.
I think this looks like just
rounding
uprising in the street. Yeah, and they're just,
Mhm.
I mean, because they got riot shields and everything else. So it sounds like this is definitely the same area we saw Mira's character come through. We've seen Andor. We've seen a couple other characters in the same plaza. So definitely some tension there with the locals.
Yeah, no, I don't believe this is probably anybody that's going to be like a prominent character of any sort.
But look at that beard; it's glorious.
It is glorious. And so I figured you'd like that too. He almost looks like the lead singer to Anthrax.
A little bit.
Okay,
Scott Ian.
Scott Ian. Yeah. You got 3 ships coming in, drop ships coming in from space into this planet, wherever this may be. Not a lot there. This is Kyle Solars. We talked about him in the teaser one as well.
His only
Aaron
job in the
Epstein.
show is to stare, sincerely and intently just off camera lens there.
Yeah, and
that's his one job.
Supporting him.
Right. Yeah.
He's like a support stare. So yeah, I don't know. He doesn't say a whole lot. He just keeps looking at things. Cassian Andor running through, I don't know, underground sewers of some sort. Kind of hard to tell what's happening there. He's just running. And this guy, I didn't even know who this was, but we got a name. Linus Mosk. Sergeant Linus Mosk is his name. And he says, "There's fermenting out there, sir." I'm not sure.
That's a big word.
Yeah. It all means is like stirred up, or it's the uprising, right? There's people out there that are.
It's gaining speed. There's something building behind the scenes and in the background.
Now, I thought he had said fermenting at first, and I thought, okay, they're brewing beer of some sort.
Yeah, they're just brewing.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that. But fomenting, yeah.
Pockets are fermenting. It's like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know they were local brewers. Now, this guy we saw in the teaser, in that teaser trailer, he was the one that was kind of looking at, we assumed that he was looking at wreckage or something just happened. They look like a rescue team of sorts. I don't know if I'm really on that now. I feel like I think what you had said was they just look like they're more repair people or salvaging people of some sort.
Yeah, just workers.
Like what's going on here? Yeah, I mean, this guy doesn't look like he's in a hurry here. We got is this a simian? One of those simian? It's not a simian character. I don't know what race is this.
I don't know. Planet of the Apes type of guy.
Yeah,
not sure.
I don't know either. Yeah, it looks like if you saw the original Clash of the Titans, the guy with the pitchfork in his hand and the tail. What was that character's name?
I never saw it.
With the horns? You never saw that?
There's a list of movies I haven't seen that people want to give me a hard time about.
Okay, we're not going to.
So get in line.
No, serving number. Shut the F up. Okay, so where were we? Oh, yeah.
This is where pockets are fermenting now.
Pockets are fermenting, yeah. More elevators. We already saw those. Not too exciting. Lambda class shuttle coming in. That's kind of cool. Let me go back here. Ugh. What is all that?
That's QuickTime.
Noise. That's not QuickTime. Don't blame it on QuickTime. So the Lambda class shuttle is landing, and here on the side of it to the right, that's one of those. What were they called in Rogue One? The ships that they were using to pull out all of the
Yeah,
crystals.
I don't remember what they're called. The ones with,
Yeah.
yeah. So for those listening, it's the one with the 4 wings that still kind of rotate down.
Yeah. But this is generally reserved for officers of some sort, so it could be Mira, who's we see her afterwards. Probably not the same shot. She's walking again with a purpose. She walks.
Right.
The other guy's just stares.
Well, and again, the guy behind that gray is much lighter than a normal Imperial gray. And he's got the blue, I believe that's a shade of blue, white and blue, maybe, insignias
Yeah.
or indicators.
This is them looking at a holotable of some sort, either looking at plans of what they're going to build or invade or blow up. I'm not sure. Never know with these guys.
Chasing out the rebels. Rabble. Not the rebels, but the rabble. Yeah, here we go. This looks like
it's a little too close, man. A little too spicy.
That's right.
So, a little Latin love going on right here. I don't know. I wasn't expecting him to have a love interest, but I'm down with it. It's fine. Whatever. It's not his sister, though. I mean, that'd be super weird if it was. So,
Oh.
But not that Star Wars has ever done that before, of course.
No.
And I'm assuming this is her in the cuffs here.
Right. Yeah, after she's captured.
binder
Although this
cuff.
looks like Imperial gloves and outfits, not the local security that we saw capturing her, though.
Oh, yeah,
These are
no,
definitely
good point.
Imperial outfits. And you can see, it looks like Mira maybe right, or no, those are stormtroopers.
Yep. But that would make sense because Mira then is talking, I'm assuming to her, you can see the hair on the right-hand side of the screen. It looks like it's longer hair. So, assuming it's the same person, and she's talking about, this is the whole line about, are you a fish or are you a thief? You're in my net.
Which would you rather be? I mean, both seem kind of screwed, whichever way you go.
The thief's fine. I don't want to be a fish.
I guess you could throw a fish back, technically.
Yeah, but this is and this is from her. I guess this is the same character we saw in the teaser where she was being held. I think it was by Solar's character, right? Cal Solar's character, wasn't he holding her? And she was bleeding. So same part of that shot. Why did they focus on the rings?
I think so. Yeah, so this is, I guess, so those listening, this is Luthen when he's presumably on Coruscant, getting all dolled up and getting and decorated in his robes and putting rings on. I think it was just more about, there's probably dialogue going on at the same time. So it's just some sort of visual as he's getting himself, adding all of his accoutrement in order to be ready to be presented.
But this to me feels also like this is not flashback, but this is previous time. If you look at his hair, it's like longer.
Yeah, it's longer,
right?
flowing.
It looks like he might have been part of the Senate or high up there. And when we see him with the shorter hair, it looks like he's in the trenches now and probably on the run from the Empire of sorts.
Yeah, and again, I like the way that his facial expressions are very different. When he's a little bit older, he's more of that grizzled type of thing, but here he just looks tired.
He does.
And worn down. And some of the dialogue is definitely giving us the same impression too, with someone who's maybe someone that works with him or maybe a daughter or something like that.
Yeah, Clea?
Yeah, Clea. Yeah, Clea or Clea.
Yeah. And she says, you're slipping. If you look at his stuff too, like look at his, like in the background here. Well, first off, she has what looks to be kind of like a magnifying glass, right? One of those where you pull over and it's got a light.
Kind of like a shop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she's got all those different tools down there. So I don't know what they're like, if it's fine jewelry of sorts. He's got the rings. Maybe he's a jeweler. Maybe he is a collector of fine antiquities. If to quote another famous movie. But yeah, and then look here. This looks to be like his shop, maybe, right? These are like art things that he's selling. These look like artifacts of sorts, or heirlooms, or who knows what this stuff is. But yeah, I'm with you. This does feel like this is his previous life.
Very upper class at the very least.
Mm-hmm.
But again, rich, wealthy, powerful, has influence. I mean, these are the things that we're getting an idea. But yeah, with Mon Mothma coming in from her blue car in her white outfit, it's interesting what the connection is here. Yep. Because again, I'm with you. It doesn't really appear like he is he's part of the bureaucracy, like specifically, like in part of the Senate or something like that.
How does one rise to such power selling these items, right? Oh, we'll see. He's got an interesting background. Yeah. So again, this shot here of him, they're showing he's got the longer hair, and they immediately cut over to this one
Well,
where
and
he's in a ship.
before we
Oh, but
shift over though, we didn't finish the rest of that dialogue when it says you're slipping, but he's saying that I've just been hiding for too long. And
yeah.
again, you start to feel that weight that he's maybe he's intentionally making mistakes because he knows he needs to commit to whatever is what needs to come next with what's going on with the Empire. And so he's maybe doing things on the side, maybe slipping money a different way, maybe running things out of his camp there at least a little bit. Maybe not specifically we're in Coruscant or something like that. But again, it's time for him to choose what he was talking to Andor about before. He's in that same moment in this moment in time as well. And it's time for him to make that choice to commit and to be something bigger and better than what he is in that place.
Yeah, no, I like that. Like him saying, "Hey, I know exactly what you're going through. I've been here, I've been there, and you can do more. And I'm the right person, the right guy to kind of help you get there because I've done it myself." This is cool. We get to see him. I don't know, getting into some offensive maneuvers here. Clicks a couple switches, the guns come out, the turrets come out there.
It's just aggressive negotiations.
He blows away that little TIE bomber. Those things are terrible at turning, by the way. They're horrible.
Right.
But yeah. So cool stuff from him. Good to see him flying around there. He could be escaping a planet. We don't know.
It looks like Mon Mothma's limo.
Yeah, it's taken off. More eye candy.
Yeah, but again, see the gray, almost stone-like tones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just very different than the Coruscant we've seen in other times, right?
Yeah, it's all washed out now. Lack of
Right.
color.
Now, as you look around here, did you see people in this?
Yeah,
in this one, there's a few.
Yep.
But are they all occupied?
They are there.
Okay.
No famous aliens that I can see, anyways. I wonder if that's part of it too. You know, like
I wonder if they've driven the alien, like the non-human species, out of the Senate yet, or if they're still working on it.
I mean, that would align with now we have a very diverse kind of, especially when we get to like the Resistance, right? They're very diverse in terms of who they go after. But that's not exactly true. The Resistance, or not the Resistance, sorry, the First Order. Sorry, the First Order. Maybe we're a little bit more open-minded about who they bring in, but at the same time, I mean, they all pretty much look the same. So I can see, Palpatine weeding out the alien species and going more for, the tried and true humans as part of the Senate. And that's what we see here. Like, I don't see any aliens back there.
Right.
So
again, very small picture, but even at this party, I don't know that we're seeing any here either.
No. You could cosplay as that guy right there.
I could. You're right. I just need a little man bun.
Got a man bun there going on. Yep. Get stuff all over that. Get that going. Yeah, I don't know. There's a party going on here. And then this is where Mothra's coming in saying, as long as everyone thinks I'm an irritation, there's a good chance they'll miss what I'm really doing.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think she's playing a very dangerous game, right? She's got a position of power, and she's probably, she says irritation. I'm sure it's alluding to that shot we just saw her at, where she's standing there in the Senate. She's probably bucking against up against them, very similar to what Bail Organa is probably doing right now as well. And there's some probably cover there, I guess, right? As long as it's minor, right? If she's bringing up minor things and not trying to make big sweeping changes, then she's probably more of a nuisance, and she's probably considered, quote, harmless to the Empire, right? She's really not anybody they need to keep their eye on. And so,
it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of those types of the way you position yourself of like, okay, I'm an irritant, but I don't have any real power and influence. So whereas a Bail Organa might have influence and that power, and I'm trying to align with him, people view her potentially more as a pretender.
Yeah.
And she's from Chandrila, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that's her what she represents. Yeah. So again, what the relationship of the Chandrilan people are with the Senate as well matters too, about how the Empire views them. But I always thought Chandrila was, kind of a more elite planet, though, kind of like an Alderaan.
Yeah, that's how I always envisioned it as well. It's been some time since I've actually looked into it. I'm sure the wiki entry will probably explain a lot more. But yeah, I kind of got that sense as well.
Right. So it might be more of a reflection of her that she's trying to throw her weight around, thinking Trangilla is still has the same influence and power they've always had, when really they discount it heavily now.
Yeah. This is this guy here is Tay Colma.
Right.
I think is his name, and he's asked the question, "What are you really doing?" I know a lot of people were saying this is Chancellor Valorum or Valorum prior to being Chancellor.
No,
even if it was, I mean,
that is not Zod.
Kneel before Zod. Terrence Stamp. Yeah, so he says, "What are you really doing?" And we all know what she's really doing. But I love that because then it cuts over to the scene here with the doors closing right in on her. Oh, she's sitting there. Okay, so Death Troopers are coming in. We get a couple quick shots here. Death Troopers walking in. Could be that same place that Cassian was in earlier. These shots all look, these scenes, a lot of them look very similar, so it's hard to tell.
Right.
Marva, who was prominent in the teaser, I think this is one of the few shots that we have of her in this trailer.
It might be the only one.
Yeah, maybe it is the only one. So this is Marva. Is that her crying to this droid?
I don't know. I can't really tell.
It's hard to tell when they do this stuff. But we got a new droid. Looks like the droid.
Yeah, this is B. Yeah, I think the nickname is B. It was part of the Andor exhibit that was up at San Diego Comic-Con. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They had a name. I'm trying to remember. It might be Andor. It's a salvage droid, basically.
Yeah.
Which again,
makes sense.
I think is what we saw from the first trailer too.
Yep. When it was rolling around there. There's this big explosion. Cool. Who knows what's going on here? Could be Saw. Could be Partisans. Andor. Take your pick. Witness the beginning, and then we cut into more Clea, who says this is what revolution looks like. Don't know where.
Yeah, a bit of a stark contrast from what Marva said in the original trailer, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what rebellion looks like. So is it a rebellion or is it a revolution?
Well,
I think that's.
Did she say rebellion? I think she used a different word. I think she said sounds like. Oh gosh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on the quote.
That's okay. I'm sure someone will correct us later. Yeah, she looks like she's in some kind of a terminal here a little bit later. Who knows? She finishes that line about revolution looking like, and then we get Cassian Andor, who looks to be powering down the shields, the shield generator of some sort. I don't know. Who knows what he's doing, but it's blue there, and then he lifts. Oh, wait a minute. We already found an editing mistake. Look at that.
It's proximity based.
He's not touched it. No, Jonesy, you're not going to be an apologist for this. This is a horrible show. I'm not even watching this now. Can't believe they've done this. He's not even touching it.
So Andor's in his Imperial outfit that we saw him earlier in. So obviously working undercover in some regard, creating chaos on the back end.
He's force sensitive. That's it.
Oh, there you go.
Yep.
That makes more sense.
He's using the force. Turns it off before he touches it. I thought this was Luthen's ship, but then later on we get that ship that's flying through the weird debris stuff, which I still don't understand. It's fascinating to me. This looks like those engines now. So there you go. So yeah, cool. Engines firing up. Somebody running through some kind of a rail system of sorts. Here's that room with the chain, the House of Chains here, and you can see that big engine part there. It almost looks like a transmission on in the rafters there being pulled up. Somebody shooting at Andor, like taking shots at him from up above as he's running for cover here. Looks very John Wick. And let's see here, of rebellion. Oh, this is so. Then we get this, hairless Cassian Andor, and this is what I was saying. Like those Death Troopers when they were coming in, you see the panel there on the left hand side there, or on his right.
Yeah,
it looks like that same panel. So wherever he is, it looks like this is where the Death Troopers were coming in. Whether this is his pad or
and you can see B
safe house or something.
Yeah, and you can see B there in the background on the bottom left.
Oh yeah, I can see that. Yep. This is a droid. He says, "I'm tired of losing." This is where he says that line. I'm with you, bro. I feel that in my bones. And then we've got those three. I'm assuming these guys are infiltrating or they've gone undercover and they're trying to get away. They're not.
Well, one of those might be Andor too. And again, this is this dam that we've kind of seen a couple of times where they start rappelling down it. But yeah, I'm assuming Andor is one of these three.
Yeah, this is more of a daytime shot. This is more of a like nightfall shot. There's only 2 here, so I don't know where the third one went. Maybe he didn't make it.
Yeah, true. This could be them going into the facility, and this is them getting out.
But that's Cassian. I'm gonna bet just the way it looks right there. Plus, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say he does not die in this series.
I think he's gonna live.
Yep. Now this was interesting because we talked about this in the teaser, whether these guys were like indentured
Yeah, we saw them all going
workers.
orderly from right to left. Now we see them in chaos running from
Right.
left to right.
Yeah. Are they prisoners though? Are they workers? Do they work at this like?
It seems like it.
mining
Why else would they be
facility?
barefoot? Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of clothes. But then and then back to the teaser though. These also look like those same people that were working in that kind of white room, right? That white space, and they were assembling something or
Right.
working on stuff. And so I thought, well, maybe they're scientists, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're just manual labor that that's part of their sentence of sorts.
Yeah, and we know we have a couple of new planets with was it Ferrix, and I think there was another one that got mentioned in the captions as well. But so we know we've got a couple. So I don't think this is Coruscant. But yeah, somehow Andor is there as well, and it looks like he's breaking out. So is he breaking everybody out, or is he creating chaos and everything else is going on around it, or how is that all combined together?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, if there's anybody that's probably leading this, you would hope it's our protagonist, right?
Right.
So yeah, he's smashing that. This guy's like airborne. There was some explosion. Then it's hard to even tell if it's even the same scene. That guy's out. Had too much to drink. He's laying there. Okay, what the heck is this?
Did you see what I put in the notes?
I saw something. I saw Maz.
I also did this on Twitter too today.
Oh, I've been busy. I haven't been.
It's a Maz, and so in the notes I called it the Maz Ochia Bastoon love child in the multiverse of Albert's nightmares.
That's pretty much what it is. Oh yeah, it is a Maz. Gross. It is kind of like a Maz.
The arms come out like in
Ochia
weird
Bastoon.
places too.
Yeah,
Like his
it's
torso is like contorted a little bit.
It's like a Krang. From Turtles. I think I used that joke already last episode, didn't I? I
think so. Yeah.
All right, never mind. I apologize. Yeah, I don't know who this guy is. This is Terrence Stamp now. This is what he looks like. Yeah, he's creepy looking. I don't know what else there is to say. He's got a shot. Crazy. I called him Dr. Kevorkian in the Jack Kevorkian in the show notes because he looks similar there. But who knows what he's doing to this poor guy, who looks to be down of sorts. I don't know what.
Maybe he's a good guy. He just had to enhance himself in order to be more effective.
Well, he did enhance himself to be more attractive looking.
Well, because he's committed to his work. No time for love, Dr. Jones.
And look at his Look at his second under.
That's what I'm saying. It's like they're all in weird places. Like
it's coming out
like
of his
sewed him on. It's like a Frankenstein look.
Yeah, that's creepy.
Oh, Molotov cocktail time.
Yep, from Sylvester Stallone.
And so again, I think this is that scene that we have the riot troopers with earlier on.
Mm-hmm. Big explosion there. Stormtroopers have had enough. They're opening fire on these folks. Again, these are just quick shots, so there's really not a lot to discuss. We've got what I'm assuming is Andor running down a railway. Clearly not Imperial because there's handrails on the sides, but it is raining. So it's some kind of facility of sorts. Is this his sister? I don't know.
I don't know. I can't tell if that's a little goatee or if that's just war paint on the chin or what, or dirt.
It looks like paint. I thought that was a girl. I don't know what's going on here.
But again, the staff. Yeah, so I think that does seem like a girl. Long the hair looks like the eyes.
Well, I wonder if this is the staff that Cassian Andor has. Like if she dies, he picks it up, and that's call to action back then.
Kind of where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
And then we get to this money shot. Man,
I still don't know what's going on.
Like so there's all these streaks. So a beautiful sunset, but all of these streaks of like smoke or from missiles or from something, meteors, debris coming down to the planet. But it's just absolutely stunning to look at.
And all of this stuff is converging in on that central point. And yet the ship is going to that point. So it's like, why would you send Like, I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It just blows my mind. Like, I really want to know what the heck's going on here.
But maybe this is the actual destruction of this world, and they have unleashed something that is just going to rain holy hell chaos down on it.
And so these are people firing at it?
Maybe so, yeah. I mean, maybe these are all weapons just being fired, because you could see, I mean, there's flames and stuff on the right, so maybe it's more debris, like asteroid debris, but you're right. It's all coming to a focal point, which is odd.
Yeah.
But there appears to be something on the horizon there that everything is going towards.
It's fascinating.
But we can't make that out, though.
Yeah. But this is the ship that from earlier, those engines firing up. Quick shot here of some TIE fighters shooting other TIE fighters, or just shooting at something else in the ahead of them. Couldn't tell.
Yeah, I can't tell. And I've seen others believe it. I think this is them shooting at something else, because something's firing back at them with these orange blasters. And so some were like, well, no, the Andor's the one shooting back at them and stole. I don't think that's the case at all, because Andor does not look like he's in an Imperial TIE fighter.
Yeah, there was a scene in the teaser where they showed him it showed somebody jumping into a TIE fighter, like from a long shot in shadow. And then they cut to Andor firing up the controls on a ship. And we said, that is not the cockpit of a TIE fighter. You don't have that much space, right?
Yeah, not the one that we're used to seeing at the very least.
Right. Maybe a bomber, those lazy guys that get to stretch their feet out. But yeah, I don't know I wouldn't say this is Andor per se. It does look like they're just kind of firing ahead, and it's just a shot of these TIE fighters going after it, whatever.
Right. And again, something hits this TIE fighter. But again, this is that debris all flying around as well. So I'm thinking this is all in that same scene. So maybe they're not fighting any. I mean, they're shooting at something clearly, but man, yeah, I'm with you, man. This is total chaos.
And I think this is where it ends here with Cassian Andor. Similar to the shot that we had before. It looks like I'm assuming he's flying whatever the ship is that's going towards wherever all these missiles or debris or whatever is converging in on. He looks like to be in the thick of it and heading that way at that point. So I don't know what this dude's doing heading that way. You're going the wrong way, bro. Yeah.
That's it, man. Good trailer. Really good trailer. This is probably my favorite Star Wars trailer we've had in a long time, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it checks all the boxes. It does everything it needs to do.
We finally got a little bit more of that story time. It's like starting to evolve a little bit and get a little more shape.
Yep.
Yeah, all the characters getting a little more time and bridging what we had before. So, man, this trailer really got me hyped more so than what was already there.
Yeah, I can't wait for August 31st. Oh, wait.
Hey, September 21st is the new August 31st.
Closer to my birthday. So
true. You mean Mark Hamill's birthday?
Oh, Mark Hamill's birthday. Yeah. Well,
right.
He has.
You let him share it with you. I know.
Every year. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, dude. I mean, I was already excited. I mean, they don't need to do anything. I'm gonna watch this dang show. But to see this and the way it was presented, and even with hey, we're gonna have to wait till September 21st. I'm fine. Whatever. When it's ready, it's ready. I'll be ready. My body's ready. Let's do it. So
yeah, and Vlad had a good comment. He said the grittier the better, and I think that's what is really striking that chord with people was that this does feel like a very boots on the ground. Hands are dirty. You got dirt all over your clothes. Like nothing is clean and pristine. The stormtroopers are all, covered in this stuff too. Even the officers can't help but get their whites a little bit tarnished and a little bit dusty. And so it's just very much a gritty, I don't know if it's going to be necessarily a darker story, but definitely that more intense. And you feel like something's on the line potentially every week, every episode is going to feel like that tension. And what I was really excited about was, the political intrigue side of it actually got ramped up a little bit this time around with this. So definitely with Mon Mothma, you're starting to get a little bit more of that tension coming through of, okay, well, what is she actually up to? How much danger is she actually in? Who can she trust? Who is going to betray her? What are all the things? What does that snowball effect look like over the course of this series? And so I think that's becoming a really nice counterpoint to some of the things that we'll see with Luthen and Andor.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I mean, there's the story is going to be more than what we've seen on the surface. I would agree that it's going to have several layers. It feels like we're going to get more of the, I wouldn't say the political side of it, but certainly like the inner workings of the empire, which is interesting and very intriguing to me. Like the fact that there's so many officers that are present. I think we're going to get to see a lot of that and how that process works and the background history and all that. And it's just something we don't necessarily get. Some of the more interesting aspects for me of the Mandalorian was when he got in behind, the trenches and they were in that was the
Yeah, the
cafeteria,
mess
right?
hall. Yeah.
Yeah, and all the protocols and everything that goes into the Empire. That stuff is super interesting to me. So I love the fact that we're going to see all of that, and then have a character that who's going to learn all this stuff and then use it to his advantage to thwart them in whatever ways he can.
Right. And a bit
Um,
on the political on the Mon Mothma side, back in the Revenge of the Sith, the deleted scenes, they were all like in a circle, if I remember this right, right? Kind of talking about
oh
things
yeah,
not going well or whatever. But so I really want to see how that's evolved from, hey, let's get in a room and talk about this in really covert language without really saying what we're saying. And how was that changing now to putting up a very specific front and then doing things in the background in order to knock that down? And then again, do we see Bail Organa in this series, at least as a cameo, coming in that interaction with Mon Mothma, or are they trying to really keep distance from one another? Because I have a feeling they probably already interact with one another already, but
sure.
maybe trying to keep some of that a bit separate so it doesn't appear like their alliance is forming, at least overtly.
I wouldn't have a problem if they brought in Bail Organa.
Oh,
I
I
think it
think it
makes
makes
sense,
sense.
100.
Yeah.
percent
Yeah.
So now, if it's overt and it's kind of like interface and he's there, and I mean, it just depends on what they're using him for. But he's got.
Right.
It would be nice to see that he is helping and doing what he can without exposing himself, or even drawing lines. Like that whole relationship with Saul Guerrera. That's another really interesting piece for me too. Like because they know. I mean, this guy is doing their work. He's going
Right.
about it in the worst kind of way, but at the same time, they're not going to stop him, right? I mean, they're probably not interfering. They're allowing him to do what he does and say, "Oh well, he's a loose cannon. There's really not a whole lot we can do about him." But at the same
And I
time,
think that's a
he's
great
doing a
point.
favor.
Like, is Mon Mothma sanctioning Saw's the way that he does things at this point, or is it already turned south and a little bit sour, or is she not involved at all really quite yet
Yeah.
with that? So I'm really curious how these things fit together, both with Luthen as well as with Saw, and then how Andor kind of wraps up in all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let's get this going. I'm ready
Yeah, it's
for it.
setting the stage for a really good show. And I like that they've taken the time and they look like they've really got the aesthetics right, and
Yeah.
they've got it seems like they've got the right tone. And so I think we're really on a good trajectory here.
Cool. Any final thoughts before we get out of here? Or you want to do shout outs?
Let's do a few shout outs. We had a really great crowd tonight. Appreciate everyone coming out. If you are listening to the podcast, as a reminder, we do have a live stream Tuesdays and Thursdays, typically about 9 o'clock on Central Time. And we'd love for you to come out and check the show. We do have a live chat. We're able to interact with y'all, put your thoughts on the screen, and give feedback as we kind of go through as it's relevant. And so tonight we had Jonathan, Stephanie, Sky, Rob G, Gary, Katya, Jorge, Qui-Gon J, William George, Vlad, Risk, Hard Countered, and Richard. I saw you there in the background as well. And for everybody else that was lurking and listening, thank everyone so much for tuning in. And we hope you enjoyed the show and hope you'll come out and see us next time.
Yep. Okay.
And hey, 2 shows in a row of an hour and a half.
I know. What's going on here?
I don't know what's going on. Are you sick?
No. We're gonna
You have somewhere to
change
be?
Nope. We got nothing. I got nothing going on now. Everything's over with. So, okay. So we will be back here very shortly because we are going to be talking about Rogue One. Is that Thursday's show? I forget now.
No.
Okay. We'll be back Thursday with a Patreon show though, and to be determined. But don't worry, Patreon members, we got you taken care of. So,
Oh yeah, that's a good point though. So the show for a couple weeks from now, for the Rogue One, I will put that out there on Patreon this week though, and start getting interest and see where we're at on that one.
Yeah.
And
so
again,
if you're a Patreon member, come on.
Yeah, and again, if
Come on.
one of these cool little Cantina Cast pens could be yours, if you're selected to be on the show with us. So
Cool.
Yeah.
We gotta use them somewhere. So no,
That's
they're
right.
great. They're great pins. I actually really do like them.
Pretty neat.
I don't have one, But
Yeah, maybe one day you'll get one.
Maybe one day I'll do a show. It's a little something between us, I guess, huh? Okay, let's see. I have not. Now I have actual footage that I can use for the credits. So I've not created them or updated them yet. So you're going to get the Obi-Wan stuff, but everybody's here. So thanks again to everyone for joining us on the live show, and we'll see you guys in a couple days for the Patreon show.
You're still listening? Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm here to give you the disclaimer. Normally we do a big, long, drawn-out disclaimer thing saying what's what and who's what and all that other stuff, but I think you guys kind of know that Lucasfilm and Disney have no affiliation with us at all, and we have none with them. We talk about Star Wars, which is their property and all that other good, fun stuff, but I think you can tell which is our stuff and which is their stuff. If you can't, well, then send a lawyer to send an email to me, and I'll be glad to chat with them. Other than that, you know what's what, so that's your disclaimer.